And hello and welcome to the Chatterbox podcast with me, Callum.
Me, Abaddon.
Me, also Abaddon.
What a very good intro to the start of the episode. So anyway, I'd never made this link. Abaddon, like he's a bad one.
Yeah, Warhammer's right for this.
I only knew this like a week ago. No? Anyone else? No? Just me?
Just tumbleweed.
So, our good friend Nick, who is new to the hobby, said to me, Abaddon. And I was like, oh, like a bad one. He's like, yeah. I was never knew. I thought it was like Abaddon, like, I don't even know what I thought.
Just Abaddon.
Like
just a random name.
Just a random name, like the Abyss, like, I don't know, the Abaddon, the Great Abaddon. I don't know. Anyway, that completely blew my mind. Welcome to this episode 12, by the way, of the Chatterbox podcast. So this is an episode where we start talking about more tactics and we're talking about more rules and we're talking about gaming. And obviously this is going to be a really big episode because, guys, the tournament happened.
Weeks ago.
Correct.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. We are now officially better than you, Callum.
Tournament players.
You're now veteran, seasoned,
We are
hardened players.
Yes.
Hardened.
To us now, just between us, you are the lower of the low.
I am now scum
We're
of the
upper
earth.
class.
Yep.
You are.
I'm now in
Peasant.
I'm in Hive City,
Yeah.
eating corpse starch,
Yeah.
earning imperial credits. Is that the currency? I can't remember now the currency. But anyway, I'm living a shit life, basically.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Are we the first minute? Yeah, sorry, we're past the minute. I'm allowed to swear. So, how did it go? Come on, let's just kick straight into this then. Let's talk about tournament tactics. What happened? Let's go.
We went there. We
We
kicked
won.
ass
Yeah,
in one game.
One game.
nice. Out of
5.
5 games.
so it went well.
Be a little kid though, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Felt good. Didn't come back next day, did they? I felt really bad about that.
Oh God.
I feel bad saying that.
Okay, let's. Okay, so this is an important episode, I think, because
Not doing my rep very good here.
it's an important episode because obviously we've got some listeners who I know expressed to me personally that they have been interested in getting into tournament play, and they haven't done it before, and maybe some listeners out there who have not expressed it but are thinking about going to tournament play. I've never been to a tournament. You two have previous to this have never been to a tournament, so obviously this is your very, very first experience of a tournament. So let's go start this episode. Let's go for a breakdown of everything leading up, the start, the middle, the end, and the aftermath. Should we go through that? Yeah. So how did you guys prep for this tournament?
Prep?
You prepped?
I think
No?
James prepped more than me.
Oh, okay.
I think I was the weak link in
Oh,
that.
really? Oh, God.
Because he's gone, right, I'm staying sisters. And he stuck to sisters.
Right.
I was a bit more like, yeah, I'm going Thousand Suns. Now I'm going Tau. Now I'm going Black Templars. No, I'm back to Tau.
No. Okay.
No, the Codex ain't going to be out in time. I'm going back to
so
Thousand Suns.
a little bit of indecisiveness then going in, I'd say.
Yeah, I don't think our armies were very complementary with each other, whereas, our first opponents were, and we'll discuss that in a minute, but yeah, it was quite clear that, their other people's armies worked quite well together and ours may have had areas of weakness.
If you are just joining us at this point, by the way, this was a 2v2 competition.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to reiterate that James and Dave worked together on the same side. So obviously, when we talk about complementary armies, that's what we're talking
I think
about.
it's fair to give a shout out to Battlefield Birmingham as well, because they're the ones who hosted it.
Yeah, it was a really good tournament actually, and if you're looking to go into the tournament scene, I think probably starting as a doubles tournament would be
Do
quite
they have a
nice.
link or a website?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll throw it in there then. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
there's
throw it
definitely
in.
got a Facebook group.
Yeah,
if
we'll
nothing
throw
else.
it in there. Yeah, okay, of course. So your prep then, carry on.
Oh, you go first.
So starting with me, yeah, I basically just got reps in with my sisters, just kept playing games with them, switching small things in and out. I think if I'd have probably done it again, and if I was going to do a proper doubles tournament and, take it really quite seriously, it'd be good to get those games in together. So you could see, maybe we need some more anti-tank, or we need some more stuff that's going to hold the middle, or we're going to struggle from a range, that sort of thing. But I think the way we worked it was just kind of guesswork almost, as
Yeah.
I decided, roughly what I was taking. Dave had an idea of what he was taking. And we hadn't even tried those armies, had we?
I think the issue is when you go 2v2, you've got to go against a 2v2 pretty much, and then you've got to be free at the same time. But if you're going 1v1, we can go, I'll play my list.
Yeah,
For
I
next,
see.
Yeah, it was really, that was really difficult.
Yeah.
Trying to get those games in together and find that time together.
So how did you prep? So you both played together against
No,
two people?
No,
Couple
I
of times.
think we played once.
Yeah.
Twice.
And then the rest of the time it was just on our own
On your
with the
own,
same
okay,
armies.
yeah.
So roughly getting a kind of feel for how our own armies worked, and then hoping that we knew them well enough, which obviously we probably didn't know them
Yeah.
well enough to.
I suppose maybe the synergy was hard to work because you didn't have that. You didn't
think
get the
you
reps
didn't have the
in with
experience,
the synergy.
really.
Yeah,
We didn't know
exactly.
what-
Yeah.
I think James knew his army really well because I've been playing a lot of Tau because the Codex came out before, but it wasn't officially released for tournament play. But I've been playing Tau because I like the new Codex, but it wasn't really. It came out the day of the tournament, so it wasn't allowed to be used. So because I've been playing so much Tau, going back to like, Chaos Marines, Thousand Suns, was a big difference.
Yeah, and I think possibly one of the weaknesses was I had a bit of a go at like putting your army together, didn't I?
Yeah,
And what I thought might work, having never played Thousand Suns, probably was a little bit weak in terms of we'd worked it out to get you Cabal points, and Cabal points for anybody out there are kind of like your special powers for Thousand Suns. You basically get them for your characters that you have in your units, and we worked it out that we could get a very, very tight Doom Bolt off, which is
just
like,
enough.
Yeah. So what we found in a lot of our games was people were like, well, they've got just about enough to get Doom Bolt off, kill one character, we don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
And that was like one of our main strengths.
Yeah.
We were kind of relying fairly heavily on that. So if we were probably to do it again, and I don't know how Dave feels about this, but if it was me rebuilding that list, I'd probably take a muted if out, put something else in for a little bit of redundancy. So we could maybe have that Doom Bolt going off a bit more consistently, and some of the other, amazing Cabal type powers.
Okay. And this is all your prep stage, right? This is you trying to figure this out in prep
Yeah.
stage, or So you're trying to. So essentially, getting that 2v2 game was really difficult because finding two other people to play at the same time is obviously going to be very
Prep's
difficult.
hard in 2v2. It
Yeah,
seems.
really, really hard.
When you're
So-
working like James has a family as well.
yeah, of course. Yeah,
Like,
I get that.
He's gonna make family time.
Yeah.
We gotta make sure everyone else who plays at the shop has a family.
Yeah.
So you gotta make sure they're free at the same
Yeah,
time.
I
And
get
it's hard to get that.
Okay, so the prep was difficult going in for
We did
2v2.
Think about maybe one of us will take on half the sisters, half the Thousand Suns against another army.
Yeah, and that might have worked quite
Yeah.
well, actually. We never tried that in the end. So the idea was that one of us would play both armies. So, I borrow Dave's Thousand Suns and play my
Okay.
sisters as well at the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time. So we can both get sort of a feel for how that works.
So 2 minds into 1 army.
But even
But
still then, it
times
would
2,
still
yeah.
require us to meet up together.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
you lent that army out, and then it kind of takes away your opportunity to practice on your own with that army. It was tricky, wasn't it?
It was hard.
I believe it is, because I think setting up a 1v1 can be quite hard.
Yeah.
Especially now, the time of lives we are at right now, we've all got commitments, like you said, families.
I think with a
jobs
1v1
and
at
stuff
least, like if say you couldn't play me, I'll ask James. He can't play. Okay, I'll ask Avon. Okay,
Yeah,
he
you
can't
can
play.
usually find...
Yeah,
I'll just use
yeah.
his list still, but I'll
Yeah.
find someone to play. Where 2v2 is like, I've got to make sure James, he's free. I've got to make sure you and Avon are free. I've got to make sure you.
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
that. Okay. So prep, a little bit difficult then with prep, but you both
Yeah.
still try to play as much as you possibly could and figure stuff out.
My issue was I was changing armies left, right, and centre, which didn't help.
So why was that?
The Tau Codex came out.
So who did you start with initially?
It was Thousand Suns because I was playing
initially.
Thousand Suns.
Yeah. And then Tau Codex came out, so you changed to Tau?
I started with I've said last episode about starting with Tau. Then we thought with sisters, Black Templars might be cool for the lore side of it because they're both like
Quite zealous.
zealous for the Emperor.
Yeah, I get it.
Very
All
that
very,
rubbish.
very imperial.
Yeah, all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then I've had a game with James. I think just because that one game, I think I did it for me.
Did I put you
It cost me £80 in the pizza, and it was that day.
Was this the £80
Yeah,
pizza
so
thing?
let's gloss over that. Let's talk about that.
Just to recap from a
This
previous
right,
episode.
right, that £80 is
yeah.
nothing compared to what happened to this tournament, by the way.
we'll get to,
I've not
get
told
into
you about
that. But
this.
to recap, Dave and James played, and somehow £80 got spent on pizza. I think that might have been episode 9. So go back and listen to that if you want to hear that story. Anyway, carry on.
and-
So who prep? Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the Thousand Sons. I said, yeah, particularly Thousand Sons, and the Codex came out. I was like, oh, okay, robots.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't allowed to be used because the points wasn't released in time. And
Yeah, so it landed really funny, didn't it? Because
Yeah.
I think the Codex had been out, but it wasn't available unless you bought the Battle Force thing with Crute. And then they didn't release the points until like midway in the week, and it was 2 days after the cut-off date. And there was no Tau players, was there? At all?
No, I think because of that reason, probably.
Yeah, because basically it would have meant you wouldn't have been able to use the new rules because the rules weren't available at the time of. So you couldn't have used a different detachment.
No, I
could
think
you?
because the app would auto-update anyway for the new points. If you
Yeah,
made
so it
an
would make
army
it really
list, you'll
difficult. Yeah.
vote all
Ah,
off.
come through. So you had to remake it.
And if you didn't have
yeah.
if you didn't have the Codex yet, it'll lock you out the app, so you couldn't even use your army because you wouldn't be able to physically see. What your
Yeah,
army list
which
is.
I mean, that might be a conversation another time, but that whole thing is a bit because I know that they lock the app out as well before the codex can even be delivered to you sometimes, and like if you've got a tournament, I think it's not their fault. I think tournaments being based around codex releases can be a bit squiffy because I think it throws a lot of people out, and I know it's happened in the past as well with points releases, and then the tournament had to go. Do we use the old point system or do we upgrade to the new point system? Because obviously everyone's already locked their armies in and things like that. So
Yeah, like I don't like Games Workshop ain't gonna know what every single tournament going around.
Yeah, and it's tricky
Of course
'cause
they're not. There's thousands,
They gotta look at
thousands of tournaments. Yeah,
Their tournaments
yeah,
is what matters for them.
Well,
sorry, go on, James.
It's the tournament organisers as well, isn't it? They're booking these things, 6 months, 12 months in advance.
Yeah,
We don't know the schedule. We only get told, Chaos Space Marines are coming out in between this period of time.
like summer.
Yeah,
2024.
So it's a rough guess as to when, and if they're doing it every couple of months.
And originally, say with the Necrons, it had Necrons Necrons in AdMech, then whoever. No one
Tau would have been out.
Yeah,
They would have been out.
but no one thought that Necrons and AdMech would be released together at the same time. They thought it could be two separate ones.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I think that sort of thing catches people off. Like Sisters and Genesters Court's going to be released together.
Yeah.
So recap then. So your apprehension came from you picked an army, a new codex came out, threw you off. You thought you tried something for lore, didn't work out, went back to an old army. So a little bit of indecisiveness.
Yeah.
Just through a lot of things in your own head, I assume.
1,000 Suns, if anyone plays them,
Yeah.
they're quite points costly.
Yeah,
When you
they're
use something,
quite-
when you're making a list, you're like, Jesus, these are.
a really
This is
elite,
hard
a
to-
very, very elite.
They got a little bit of a
army,
drop in some aspects
Yeah.
in before the tournament.
Okay.
But yeah, unless like Magnus is a big core of the army.
Yeah. James, you played Sisters exclusively in the prep for this, didn't you?
I think I played one game of Drukhari.
Yeah. Against me, and you. Oh, that's actually a really good fight. It was like a round for round slugfest, and I think you just eat me out in like the third round or something like that. It was fantastic. If you want a really fun game, Drukhari versus Salamanders, you'll never go wrong. It's just constant death all over the place. Flamers versus just poison blades, just never go wrong with that at all. But really, it was Sisters, wasn't it? Exclusively played Sisters.
Yeah,
quite a
yeah.
lot,
And it did start grinding on me towards the end because I'm not a mono faction.
No.
I do like having that variety and sort of switching things up every now and then. So it's probably going to be a while till I play, Sisters again, even though the Codex is dropping soon. But it taught me a lot, and I definitely became a better player by all that practice. I knew my stratagems, I knew my data sheets, I knew what did what to expect out of things, the nice synergies that you could work, how to capture different areas of the board, and how to catch people off guard potentially, dropping in their back, and also throwing people off the meta. So you've obviously got your meta sister list, so you've got Vol and the Paragon Warsuits, but that wasn't what I was doing. I was doing some other stuff, and that would potentially catch people off guard. I didn't at the tournament because Vol is amazing, but it did not.
Hospilita, MVP of the tournament, that was for
Yeah,
us.
we can go into this in a
He'll
minute.
tell you that.
Okay, we'll work up the thing for that. Yeah, okay, but working really well with it, was you?
Yeah, I
In
felt
prep?
so.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe the fact that I tried to go a bit off piste with my list building probably didn't help, but also being limited to 1,000 points as opposed to, a lot of these meta lists are based, or the tournament players are playing singles, aren't they? So they're got 2,000 points to play with. So you can bring Vol, which is like a 350 point blob.
Yeah.
That's half my points if I'm doing 1,000 points, which is, too much.
So just to reiterate, it was 2v2, but it was 2,000 points total.
Yeah, 2,000 points total.
1,000
points
each.
Yeah. So I think we had this issue when we did a 2v1, is that the one got 2,000 points of a very synergistic army, but the other half got really, even though it's 2,000 points, they only got 1,000 points each of an army, which probably doesn't
What was interesting
work
in
together
the
very
tournament,
well. So
our first opponents came back and told us, I didn't realise either, even though you got 1,000 points, if your army will, the Votan had something where at 2,000 points they get more judgment tokens, because it's still a 2,000 point game, they can still use the 2,000 point detachment rule.
Yeah.
Where they were playing it originally as 1,000 points because he had 1,000 points of Votan.
Yeah.
But they were allowed to use
Obviously, that would be tournament specific.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Of course.
Down to
Yeah,
TI.
I get that. Okay, so Sis is going really well in prep. A little bit indecisive on armies in prep. Couldn't really synergize your armies together in prep because obviously you can't find 2v2 people. Comes to tournament day or tournament weekend. So what was it like then on entry? So let's talk about when you got there, what the atmosphere was, what was going on, what the vibe was.
So we were a little bit confused actually, weren't we? We sort of walked through the door and we were just like everybody sort of looked like they knew where they were going, what to do, and we were just kind of like, do we need to talk to someone? Tell them we're here.
Yeah.
We need to register and say that we were actually arrived, or how do we know what table we go to? And then we just saw loads of people going to the bar, so we went to the bar.
As you do.
Obviously, the first thing we do, you just go to the bar and settle in.
Obviously, whilst we were in the queue, we started speaking to a chap there. And funny story about that in the end. We'll tell you that. We'll save that to the end. That's
Okay, we'll say that to the end. Yeah,
absolute-
stay to the end.
It was harvest
absolute gold.
Funny,
But yeah, so essentially, this gentleman essentially sort of like introduced us and says, "Oh yeah, this is how you do it." And
It was his lad's first tournament or something.
Yeah, it was,
It's a big
yeah.
thing for the end, that's all.
So yeah, we then found out that we needed to go to our table. We just went over to our table, and yeah,
So there's an app you use for tables, and a lot of tournaments use it.
So I can't remember what it's called. I think it's
On
a
your phone.
So this
BCP.
this tournament obviously
Best Coast pairings.
it had like a thing with an app then as well. So like it was kind of like
Best Coast
brought
pairings,
together. Yeah.
And they tell you your table, where you're ranking, where.
That's pretty cool.
So any other tournaments, your first round's random. Everyone's like 3-4, whoever you get paired with. Then after that, it gets seeded
And that's all done through an app.
for the app.
Yeah, and it's quite complicated to use when you're first using it, and I started getting used to it as we were moving through each game. And this is one of the difficulties I found with it, is that it was taking me away from my gameplay because it was something I wasn't using. In all the preparation and the practice side of things, I was just using the
Tabletop.
table, which is basically just a way of scoring your games and getting used to them and keeping track of them. But then you had to then enter the information onto this best go scoring, and it just added that extra difficulty that I wasn't used to.
It's kind of like it's like a centralized database for the tournament.
Yeah,
essentially.
and then obviously once you won the game or lost the game, you'd basically
You have to
enter your
enter that
details
information
and
in,
who won and who went first. And
Everyone
whatnot.
seems to use Tabletop to score it, which if you don't know what it is or don't use it, download it.
And it's called Tabletop Battles, the app.
It is.
It was a game changer. I
It
think
is
you
brilliant.
showed it me.
Yeah.
And before that, I was using printed out sheets and like to keep track. And like you write your CP down. I've got 1. The next round you got 2. You have to scribble out and put 2, and then you got 1. Then you got 3. But yeah, Tabletop Battles was unreal. It's so easy to use, and you both can get it, and you can both like keep track. Or like when I was judging that match, a couple of weeks ago. I just did it for 2 people, and it was just so easy to keep track of who was doing what, and secondaries and missions, and everything's in there. Basically, everything's in there. Anyway, carry on. So you had this centralized app you kind of had to input your data into to.
Yeah, so that basically told us who we were paired with, what table we were on. So we went all the way around the entire room trying to find where we were. It was basically right at the start of the entrance. And by the time we got there, we basically because we thought we had to get there at a specific time. The other two had already got there. Our opponents had already got there, and they'd quite nicely started setting the table up. And they looked quite competent, so we sort of left them to it. And obviously introduced ourselves, said that we were brand new to the scene. We didn't really know what was going on. And that maybe we would need a bit of guidance as we were to go through the tournament, and they were really nice about it, weren't they?
Yeah, we spoke to them all the way through the tournament. Then
kind of made like tournament friends. Almost.
Yeah.
Like, and I always find that when you go to like a new thing, I always find when you find someone friendly, you do kind of lock onto them for the rest of it, like, because obviously it becomes a friendly face and you're comfortable who you're talking to. So,
and it was nice as well because they came to they sort us out occasionally as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
They kind of updated us about how their games had gone and asked us how we were, and
that's really cool. That's really
one of the guys
cool.
won the best armor, best painted.
Yeah. So
amazing.
I was going to say, obviously, when we started deploying these beautiful orange Voltan
fluorescent,
and we could potentially ask if we could pop them on our Instagram.
I was going to say, if we can ask them, we might be able to get an Instagram, which would be awesome.
But they were absolutely beautiful, weren't they? Yeah. And there's a moment in the tournament where you just basically they popped onto the board and killed a lot of our stuff, and I was just like, oh my god, that's so pretty, but killed everything.
Wow, it's like being
so
killed.
Dangerous.
It's like kind of like being killed by a meteor. You're just like, whoa, that's incredible.
But yeah, so we set up. We sort of started our game. They got first turn, and then we were fighting Voltan and Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights. Sorry, and obviously we had our Thousand Sons and our Sisters. They got first turn, I believe, and pulled tempting target, and I believe capture enemy outpost, which is not the best one for them to get. Oh, we were playing Sites of Power as well, which I believe is the one where you capture and use your characters. Is that the one?
I think so. Yeah. I think
Sites of Power. I can't quite remember that, but.
So essentially, it's kind of capture and hold, but you have to, if you've got your character on the Site of Power, you also get additional points per turn.
Okay, right. So it's important getting characters into points. Okay.
Yeah, so they had a really nice setup. They had bikes on the corners. So if they pulled, say, investigate signals,
because you had
which is to get the corners. So basically, you could just run across into those edges and then go back to the Sites of Power. And they had something like 5 Chaos Titan,
Warhounds, the Warhounds,
and they essentially just ran forward.
They're very quick as well. 12-inch movement, very fast, hard hitting.
Yeah.
See, when we first saw, a few days before we got Chaos Titans first, we were both like, well,
it's not going to be a fun.
That's
game,
not going to be fun, is it? That's Titans. You can't play against Titans. Actually, that game sort of showed me that they're not so unbeatable. Like, you can kill them.
Oh, really? I've only played against them once and I got flattened, so that's good to know.
I mean, there was 1,000 points. It was only the little Titans. It weren't the big dudes, but it wasn't as broken as I thought it was going to be.
Okay, I get that. Yeah.
So I think in the first turn we managed to kill one and almost cripple the second one, which we thought was really good, until they then in the following turn brought down a whole blob
beefy
dwarfs of beefed up orange dwarfs,
angry dwarfs.
Beef dwarf came
and basically deleted our death squad.
And this is from reserve. Second turn.
I think it just deep
it came down.
Yeah.
Kicked me off the board.
Nice.
And so that was our kind of heavy counter, and this kind of sealed the deal really, because at this point we had the two corners of the
goodbye, Mike.
two corners of the board were taken by these bike squads. They had their back objective, and then the middle objective was just full of dwarves and titans and stuff. I think we managed to almost clear them off it at one point, but it was kind of too late by that point.
Did the duty.
Yeah. So after I watched his squad get completely decimated, my mind started going, where are we going to get our points back here? I started, daydreaming, and looked up, and the beautiful orange blob of base dwarves had disappeared.
It was close combat in the Titan. I killed somebody. I think I destroyed Titan combat, and then shot all the dwarves.
Which was very impressive, to be honest. I was quite pleased with that result.
Sorry, just to reiterate, who did you finish? Who did you play with again?
I was Thousand Sons.
So you went Thousands in the end. Okay,
Yeah,
so you went
yeah.
full back circle, back.
I'm sure
circle.
his Titan charged into me.
Yeah.
did nothing, and then my
Oh, it did, yeah.
my force weapons and my guys just whooped his
Just
Titan.
whooped it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
about the highlight of it.
That's as good as it got.
That's what I got from me.
Yeah, so pretty much the rest of the game we kind of got whittled down turn by turn, but because they had board control the entire game, and we pretty much only held one objective, we just couldn't pull the scores back. I think our secondaries were quite terrible. I think we started off with engage on all fronts and capture enemy outpost. We then got defend stronghold, which we got the following turn, storm hostile objective, overwhelming force, and then deploy teleport homers, which we did manage to get right at the end.
Yeah.
They had tempting target, which was, of course, they got first turn because they pretty much had all three options. Behind enemy lines, secure no man's, which they got rid of. Secure no man's land, which of course they were already securing it. Investigate signals, so they just jumped out to the sides. Storm hostile objective, which they also got. Defend strong. So I think did they drop in at some point? I'm not sure how they got that.
Their
one.
reserves, and that big block came down in.
Yeah. They also got defend stronghold, obviously. Cleanse because they were holding the middle, and area denial because they were also holding the middle. So absolutely whooped us 44 to 92.
So to summarise that final kind of like the objectives you just spoke about, then is essentially because you were on the back foot, the secondary objectives you pulled were not in your favour. Because they were on the front foot, what they pulled was very much in their favour. So it very much tipped it.
I think
I assume they were kind of winning anyway.
Well, it all came down.
It
all came down to board control. Just the fact that they held essentially 4 objectives for the majority of the game, and
they knew what they were doing as well.
There wasn't anything we could really do to change. We couldn't get the damage out there or move fast enough. I mean, one thing we didn't do was have a sort of in reserves unit, which we thought about and we considered for the next game. And we can obviously go into that in a minute, but that was something that maybe we could have done differently throughout the whole tournament, was have some sort of backline deep strike objective capturing unit. Whether that would have changed things or not is potentially null at this point, but yeah.
They were a good team, and they came
they were very good. Yeah, they came 4th.
Yeah,
it seems like a really good strategy. I'm just thinking myself now, my own play is like just to have a couple of fast attack, even cheap fast attack for investigate signals. Just to get ready to go back.
Yeah, so the beauty
was
they were just on the corners, on those objectives, just sitting on the corners, camping the objectives, and then just for that one turn, investigate signals,
just bloop, boom, straight
and then back in.
Yeah, that's it. Score. What's it for? Investigate signals, 4 points.
I think it's per corner.
Yeah. So I mean, you can score, nicely off that. And all you got to do is, I think the beauty with investigate signals as well is that you're moving away from your opponent, which protects you. So you're actually moving to score points. You're actually moving into protection to get them, and then you can come back into the fray. I suppose the only time that's going to be problematic is if you don't have anyone near the edge of the board and you're kind of locked up, and so. But obviously they clearly had prepared for that. So
I was against a lad the other day. Well, a few weeks ago, who did investigate with his dreadnought, and because he was in the open, I just shot him with a railgun.
Yeah, exactly.
Destroyed his.
I mean, you're not invulnerable, obviously, but like if you're against an army who, let's say, perhaps is more like melee based or short, like Death Guard, very short range. If you're fast and you go and run off for investigate signals, I'm not going to be able to catch you. I can't. No way I can do it unless I've got a play burst crawl to burst over the top. But even then, you're probably still going to score off it. Yeah. So real good tactic that. I quite like that.
And I think that's also where our army was quite weak because originally I was running a lot of rhinos, a lot of sisters in rhinos, so I had that ability to sort of jump out to the sides. I changed it last minute and put in a load of Sephirim and Celestine, which I thought would give us that kind of flexibility, but it just wasn't. It didn't work out the way that maybe I was just playing them wrong. But yeah, the MVP was a Hospitaller who's basically like a space marine apothecary, yeah. And she basically would not die.
Even they commented saying she's MVP.
So bear in mind she's a toughness 3, 3 up, 6 up model. She does give herself feel no pain if she's bodyguard unit. However, obviously, if you're putting wounds on her, that bodyguard unit's already dead, so you're not getting the feel no pains. But she does heal characters in her movement phase. So
Does she bring characters back or just
No,
heal?
no.
Okay, yeah.
But what she was doing was essentially getting. I think she multiple times in multiple games, and we'll hear about another one later. She'd take 2 out of her 3 wounds and then hit herself back up in the following turn, and then take another 2 wounds.
You know, I always find like every now and then you get a game where you got like a character and they just won't go down.
But they were loving it as well because
yeah.
she ran over and just did some stupid stuff that she should have died to. And
Did we get extended battle lines because she was in there?
Yeah, I think
just
so,
running
yeah.
around.
And then we, and then even if at this point we knew we'd lost, so even if they'd have killed her, there's a stratagem that you can use as sisters to bring them back to life, and I would have probably done it.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
She literally was for the Emperor.
Yeah.
Going
just
evil.
running around. Oh,
Every
she's
game.
terrible in combat and shooting. She has no actual output, but
It doesn't matter.
it was
You're on
just
the board.
enjoyable.
Yeah. So,
Just
okay.
causing trouble.
So first game, unfortunately, a loss, but sounds like a real fun battle.
Yeah, and it was a really nice
It was
intro. Yeah.
And then did you go straight into the next game,
Yeah.
or was it like
So there was
bit
a very
break?
short break, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think you meant to get like 10, 15 minutes break, but
Yeah.
it depends how your game was.
Yeah. So second game we were against a dual Tyranids army.
So 2,000 points Tyranids.
Yeah, so I think the one player owned the Tyranids. They regularly played with Tyranids, and they just made one big list, which meant you could just run them together quite synergetically.
And then offered half to the other.
Yeah, so
Yes,
the other person was
okay,
just giving
yeah,
them as a way to play them. So I think there was quite a lot of big, heavy hitting monsters in this army, and we did toy with the idea of bring it down and another secondary stratagem, but we decided against it, which we probably should have done it. I think the difficulty when you're considering having a fixed secondary is essentially if you don't put the damage output out. So say for example we took bring it down, and you miss a turn or two with that, you're then going to start falling behind quite easily.
Yeah.
They did decide to take assassinate and behind enemy lines. We went for tactical.
So they went fixed, assassinate behind enemy lines.
Yeah.
You went tactical.
Yeah,
Okay.
which again was probably our downfall. And based on the previous game of, I'd originally brought the Hospitaller to do weird kind of behind enemy lines deployment or go and do actions, which I originally, when I put her in the list, thought that she was a 4-up invulnerable save, which all the other characters are. She's a 6-up invulnerable save, so she's a lot weaker than maybe you'd hope for. But essentially also lost the ability to have her feel no pain affect the group that she's leading. So I basically deployed her on her own in the corner, thinking that this wouldn't be an issue. And in the first turn, they'd deployed, infiltrated their von Ryan's Leapers, and got first turn and just ran straight into our lines and started chopping them.
Or down the drop pod, because they came in first turn, couldn't they? Like a Space Marine drop
yes,
pod.
I think so. But essentially, they were in combat with her first turn. They pretty much wiped out the squad that they were fighting. They ended up that combat actually went on for a multiple turns. They didn't manage to kill her, which I was loving again.
Nice, of course. Yeah.
And there was probably about like 50 attacks that went into her, and she rolled like incredibly, but only she lost 2 wounds, and then re-healed herself in our turn. But then she did later end up dying, and I let her die, sadly, because obviously they had assassinate. It was guaranteed, almost a guaranteed additional points if I'd have brought her back to life. But that was quite good actually, because that fight over that one side, it worked in their favour, but also worked in our favour because it held them from getting behind enemy lines. So they were just stuck in that combat against our tank for ages.
I was like pushing up the right as well.
Yeah, and eventually we did get rid of that unit, but what didn't work in our favour is because they locked us in combat, we couldn't then go. At one point we got investigate signals and we couldn't go to the corner, which was my plan that I was going to use for her. And obviously she was locked in combat, and obviously if you come out of combat you have to be eligible to shoot, etc. So that didn't work out quite so well.
I found as well, like, in casual games, even like if there's a big scary unit, and locking things into combat is so effective.
Yeah,
just to block things off. Nick and Aaron's game, watched them at Warhammer World a couple of weeks ago. Nick tried to block off Aaron's aberrants, who are quite scary, with a rhino tank. Just locked it off, and I mean, they got through it, but it was a nice strategy just to kind of like lock down
Gives you a
one
turn
zone.
free.
Yeah, I was trying to explain this to him as well. Just gives you, don't think about the long game. They will get through it, but just give yourself a turn to move
I
through.
learned this on our fourth game where our move blocking is actually
Give yourself a turn.
really good.
Yeah. Give yourself a turn to move away or move into position or score a point, or don't think, oh, it's going to die if I do that. It doesn't matter. Get a turn. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they did really well with their movement.
Their
Yeah,
move block
they
was
moved on.
amazing.
Oh,
Fourth
really?
game.
Yeah.
So long story short, and I'll let Dave do a few highlights in a minute, but score wise, we initially got overwhelming force and investigate signals, which we got on our first turn. Again, we got assassinate. We didn't get engaged on all fronts in that turn, but we got it the following turn. We got secure no man's land, and then eventually extend battle lines. Primaries, we only scored 25, and the opponent scored 25. But there was some discrepancies with our scores in this game because I felt like it was a lot closer, and I think it probably was a lot closer than it ended up being. But we didn't want to argue with anybody.
Okay, so I think this is again, if you want to go to a tournament, let's speak about there's a discrepancy, and not to pull up old arguments and that, but so was there somebody to go to about that? Could you flag it up somewhere?
So initially, yeah. So so this is one of the things that we had with the preparation. We actually pre-contacted TOs to basically ask them about rulings. So there's a couple of specific rulings that I wasn't sure about with my sisters, and Dave had questions about his Doombolt and other Thousand Suns rules. So we kind of knew what their kind of understanding was about that. So we kind of knew where they stood. And then we could obviously discuss that on the table and say, we've already spoken to the judge, they've said this. If we did have an issue, and one of the things that we did discuss was ruins and how you can kind of shoot in and out of them. We just went and spoke to Harry, who was the TO, and basically said, how does this work? And he said, it's this way. And we just came back and went, yeah, that's how it plays. Which was really, really helpful because obviously, we didn't argue about it. We didn't spend time wasting.
Even the opponent went, yeah, go ask.
Yeah.
Like they didn't.
The discrepancy between the scores was a little bit more difficult, and I will admit I did have a lot of trouble keeping track of everything because obviously I'm trying to think about what I'm doing, what everybody else is doing. It's new to me. I just had one game. I'm trying to work out what they're doing, and there might be some discrepancies in the scores, and obviously that is going to happen. Again on me, and I did get it wrong a few times, but then I was also helping other people get their scores right because they'd also got theirs wrong. So it's going to happen. You just need to have that discussion with your opponent. I think what made this one difficult is you'll find out in a minute, our game ran quite significantly over, and that put extra pressure on that discussion at the end because we were both going, oh, we got this. Oh no, you didn't. You got that. In this pressured situation, everybody was, we'd run really, really over, hadn't we?
Yeah, and there isn't a judge every table, is there?
No,
they're walking around.
This was playing.
Yeah, which made this one particularly difficult.
Because you've got to really be on board with each other because it's not like someone sat at every table going, no, that's not the way you do it. You got to do it this way. You got to call them over. It's going to take time,
and that is awkward as well because you don't want to have that experience.
No, you don't want to say can I just get this checked by someone else?
But it is worth it, and it also flags up to any TOs if there is someone that's consistently doing something wrong, or if they're having the same issue and it's already been discussed, then they know that that person's doing it on purpose, for example. It was a tight game, I felt, but I think that one again they were kind of in our face the entire game. We couldn't really push out, and obviously the size of the monsters that were kind of coming at us, we couldn't get the wounds down fast enough to get through them. There was probably two moments where we messed up. One was where they did the Shadow of the Warp, which basically makes everybody do a battle shock test.
Yeah.
I had two people on the back of our objective. One failed on an 8 or something. My leadership is 7. And then, the other way around. But yeah, leadership is 7. Failed that. And then my second roll, I probably should have just auto-passed it, but thinking, it's a 7. The likelihood, again, is, quite low. I'm not going to fail this. I failed it. So we lost that primary objective. There was another moment where basically it was the mission where you have to get into each corner.
Extend back lines.
And basically you have to be within 3 inches of the middle line.
Okay.
And we were bang on 3 inches. Or, I mean, you could have, been a millimetre in, a millimetre out. We just ruled it as we weren't quite in there, which is quite sad. And then I think there was another instance later where we held the middle objective, but we were like either 1 or 2 OC behind. So we didn't quite get that one either. So there were just little things that could have swung.
It's probably an important thing to highlight, though, isn't it? That if you do go to competition, obviously most people are going to be there to compete and have fun, but you're probably going to have instances where like things are going to be a little bit tetchy and tight, and is it this, is it that, and
and there was a moment with the behind enemy lines thing where we actually held our line the entire time. They didn't actually get into our behind enemy lines, except this one instance where suddenly they were behind it, but they weren't behind it the previous turn, and it was kind of a bit. But again, we sort of just thought, rather than having an argument,
just
it's not worth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah. I mean, you might be.
I'm not here to shout.
Yeah.
So.
So I think that was. So I worked out to 55, 58, but possibly we might have won that one, but who knows? I know I was getting it wrong, so it doesn't really matter. We basically lost it.
Experience. All experience in the end of the
and it's nice. It's nice that it was a close game, basically. Oh, also you had points for painting your models in this one. So
I think probably an important thing to do. I think for most tournaments,
So that was actually 65, 68.
Okay, so you got 10 points.
Yeah.
And you both had painted armies.
Yeah, which was really nice actually.
That's because I think it stops people turning up with grey plastic.
Yeah.
Which is crap, because that's not what the game's about.
And it was nice to prep for that as well, because I've now got lots more Battle Sisters.
You got loads of paint and stuff, which is awesome. Then you put it in your display cabinet and go, I'll play with those at a tournament. Now look how cool they look.
Occasionally,
you got your hospitaller, and you
beautiful hospitaller.
You got put in your mouth every now and then. And go, you were great, you were.
I do need to maybe touch up a paint job a little bit.
I feel like you don't probably need to touch your paint job a little bit. But anyway, that's for another episode.
We spoke about that last time.
She hasn't even got eyeballs. Dave, did you want to say anything about that game? Because I know you were controlling your own side and you just deleted some of the opponents.
Down the right hand side.
Yeah,
the Mutilifts did their job in that one. That game I saw kick their ass. No, it's
very chaos viewpoint.
Yeah, it was. Out of all the games, that was the least fun one for other reasons. It was like, I can't really say much about it.
Yeah,
to be honest, about
out
of all the games, that was probably the worst one.
Bit of a sensitive one.
Yeah, we didn't come away feeling like we enjoyed it.
You didn't come away thinking that it probably should have went a little bit differently.
I think what really ruined the experience for us was probably the fact that turn 3, it was a long game because the Tyranids obviously had a lot of shooting, a lot of additional rolls, and it felt like it was quite slow. We were doing a lot of waiting around, and then towards the end of turn 3, I think it was getting quite close at that point, and I think without any sort of discussion, we just moved straight into turn 4. So it was halfway through turn 4 when we ran out of time. And obviously, instead of saying, you need to take all your points back for this turn, we basically agreed that we'll finish up in like 5 minutes or something. And, we'll be in a place where we've both had our 4th turn, but in those 5 minutes, we still hadn't got to our turn.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
So we were then really rushed in our 4th turn.
Really, yeah.
And then at this point, they were kind of saying, I thought we were winning. They thought they were winning. And so, at this point, we had the tournament organizer on, kind of there, and lots of other people kind of around us and putting a lot of pressure on us. But, there was kind of an agreement. We could, because I think it was dinner time at that time or something. Yeah. So we had a little bit of time. To essentially, so just about fit in another 5 minutes or something. And again, it kind of dragged out that 5 minutes, and we were like, we need to be done now. And then the tournament organizer was there standing above us, and we were just like, we just need to finish now.
And the thing is, what you say, like, I've got a bit of time to run over. That's also running into the time that you've got to chill out.
Yeah.
And,
And I suppose they've got to be strict on time, because then where's the line?
yeah.
Does
Yeah,
everyone just go, I can have 5 more minutes and then 5 more minutes?
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
it gets to a point where like everyone's getting like 20 minutes extra. And
there's a big clock everywhere.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
say how much time
and
you
how
got
much
left.
time? Sorry, how much time you got for a game?
3 hours.
3 hours.
hours,
for a
yeah.
game.
That includes
And-
deployment.
We did find actually
And
most of
includes
them did
deployment, okay.
run over, which isn't the best. And I think I'd been training with a clock, and I felt that worked really well, but I didn't feel confident in myself enough to sort of get that clock out. But I think that probably would have helped a lot of games,
Yeah.
because you are conscious. It's like, it's not us, it's you, or it's us now, so we need to catch up.
Okay, I get that.
So it kind of puts that pressure on the individual, as opposed to being like, oh, it's all of us together, we're all taking a long time. And I think that might have just helped a little bit. But then I didn't feel I didn't want to spoil the experience, being like, oh, can you keep up a little bit? Can you
So you got to turn
times
4,
out?
and I said, got 10 minutes, like, I think we should just call it. And I think the opponent was like, oh no, the TO said we can finish the game.
Yeah, and
No, we shouldn't
okay.
have. We should just end it.
and it got really embarrassed. It actually got really embarrassing. I'm sure people were like making comments behind our backs and just like, oh yeah,
Oh
like,
God, okay,
you know.
yeah. So, okay, but you know what though? Like I said, it's all. I suppose this is all part of the experience. You're probably going to come across people like this who,
yeah. And
you know,
next,
I'm not saying they're bad guys. Probably nothing wrong with it, but whether you're going to have slight discrepancies maybe between.
but it's
next
also,
time.
you know,
it's also on us. Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
should have just been like, no,
No, we do.
yeah, it's just that's it.
But next time we'd be
yeah.
more, no,
Yeah.
get the TO, otherwise, got
Yeah.
10 minutes left. We're not
Could-
going to
could
finish the
even
game.
be-
Can we change
Yeah.
it now?
You know, potentially taking advantage of your new status and
Yeah.
being like, okay, we'll carry on, and so
it's hard to know. But
Yeah.
but then we had no time between that one before going into the next game, so we literally picked up our models,
Ran over.
carried them over to the next
so you went
table.
straight into the next game.
Yeah, there was no
Right,
time
yeah.
at all.
Was it that one? Was that the first one?
No,
No,
it was,
we had
no,
lunch.
it wasn't. No, it was lunch after the first game.
Yeah, it was.
But there was a tiny bit. I think it was like 15 minutes for them to kind of run over and people to work out who was pairing the next person.
So third game, same day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so third game, same day. So who are we going into now?
Necrons and in Astra Militarum.
An interesting matchup.
Is it
And
far-
actually, this is always scary. I thought Necrons is going to be just like a horrible Catan list, but actually it was a nice
it was a
list
nice
to
game.
go
It was father and
against.
son, wasn't it?
Yeah, so this was a father and son game. And actually, I would just like to shout out the little boy. I think he was, guessing around about 12 years old, something like that. And my God, his attitude was incredible.
That's awesome,
He
man.
was so
Yeah, yeah.
chilled out. He was really like, he was reminding us of things that we might be wanting to think
Yeah.
about. And, if we killed something, there was no like, oh my God, like you've killed everything and I'm not playing anymore. It was just
Same,
like,
I was doing
okay.
bolting the hell out of him as well.
yeah.
Like his lord, he had his little lord. Well doing bolt, rolled a 6. Oh no, this is going like
Man,
this is
yeah.
bad. Rolled 6 on the damage. So his lord took 9, hit dead. And he just went, okay.
Such a good attitude though.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't.
No.
You can't get too upset about these things, because sometimes people just roll 6s against you,
Yeah.
and then you're just like, well,
But
GG, well done.
incredible-
You've done it. Yeah.
incredible
So, yeah.
attitude,
And for a
uh,
12-year-old as well, because when he's 12, man, or especially maybe 12's a bit young, but when he's going into like adolescence, like you've got so much ego and you want to like prove everything, but clearly he was taught right and he
Yeah.
had a really good attitude. So yeah,
Just a
awesome.
good friendly game.
Yeah. That's what I think. For me, that's what Warhammer's about.
And it was really
Nice,
nice,
friendly games, and so.
and interesting. We got first turn, didn't we? And I threw my I had 2 castigators,
Right.
threw them up the board, shot a couple of guardsmen, and then the opponent had to go and both of them got blown up
Yeah.
in their first turn, just gone.
Wait, who got blown up? Sorry,
Two of my tanks my
just
two-
blew up in
two
the first turn.
castigators. Yeah.
Wow, nice.
Um,
How
as
did
a
that
res-
happen?
As a response to me shooting at them with
No.
shooting a couple of guardsmen to death.
I was safe.
I think that helped us though, because they started focusing on me, didn't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
And he had the first turn he had his his 2 turrets in the corner. Doing bolt, killed them both.
Yeah, so we kept our Doom Bolt for
Yeah.
this game. because
So,
I think they were focusing me.
There's like as a learning point. Then, do you feel like focusing one side of the army is probably not the best idea,
So
and rather spread fire to keep everyone kind of like under
Depends.
suppression?
So
maybe?
with this game specifically, it was basically because obviously it was 3 games in a
Yeah.
day. I think the tournament organisers quite cleverly had just been like, right, this is going to be a simple mission, take and hold. So it's basically, I think it was kill more. No, it was just take more, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Take more than your opponent was
Yeah.
the primary objective.
Yeah.
So-
I think I know the mission. Yeah.
So that is essentially what we did. We basically went into the game and we kind of whispered to each other.
Overwhelming.
Basically
Yeah.
said, let's just go to these 3
Yeah.
objective markers and just that's it. That's all we
Hold.
need to do.
I've played that tactic before against people.
Take and hold, you can
I can
score
see.
three.
I can see they're moving towards one way, and I just go, I tell you what, I can have it. I'll just
Yeah.
take the rest of the board, and I've done it before. I've moved around, and I played a game against you once. I ended up pivoting the board a little bit towards like one side, going, well, I've kind of got this side a little bit, so I don't need all the objectives. So okay, you take that, and I'll just hold heavy on this one side. You know what I mean? Even
They're
though
going
it's not the
to
way it
get 10
started.
points, but you're going to get 15, so you're always
Exactly, you
Gonna
know, you're pipping it in your favour. So yeah, okay.
So that's essentially what we what our plan was, and we stuck with that strategy, and it really worked out for us in the long run because basically their force was mostly Necrons they're slower Necrons on the one side, and they just couldn't get them to. They weren't in the game for the whole game. They were just kind of just running across the board bit by
Yeah.
bit, and they just
I think
weren't.
at one point Omen just took their save off.
Just a
and-
little bit scattered and
There just wasn't. Yeah, they
Yeah,
weren't kind of
like-
combined force.
yeah.
Whereas we'd gone, we're just in this corner.
just like bolted into one area. And just,
Yeah.
I got you.
And I think they did start causing quite a lot of damage towards the
Yeah,
end.
towards the end.
But you know, it was kind of too late. We'd already got the points.
Got you.
And that lasted all 5 turns. It was a really pleasant game, and it was really close. We won 76-73,
Whoa, it's a close game.
It's close.
and
Yeah,
and
it's a
what
close game.
pulled us out of that one was the fact that we got taken hold 45 points out of 50, and they got 40 points out of 50. So if they'd have got an additional point in one of those games, they'd have won, and or any other secondaries.
So
really.
focusing on them
Nice.
3 objectives was actually the right thing to do.
And I think this is what we worked out really for the whole tournament. What we were struggling to do was hold our primaries, and this is the only game that we probably felt quite dominant in our primaries. And if you just hold those primaries and just put that pressure on and that pressure on, because you're just gaining turn after turn after turn of points, and you can do the rest of the secondary stuff kind of piecemeal, but your primaries are just
They're
every
going to score you big points.
and
Yeah,
every time
yeah,
you're
yeah.
getting more than your opponent, you're not just getting more, that you're denying them.
Yeah, so I mean, we've spoken in previous podcasts about. I've always said secondaries are like where you win games, but then we spoke about this, and you do realise if you're scoring primaries, it means your opponent's not scoring
Yeah.
primaries. So like, it's a very balanced. Like, you know, if I'm leaning on you,
Mm.
and you can't get that. Everyone can score secondaries at any moment. I still think secondaries are super important. I think
Yeah.
they can win games, but getting your primaries are
I think it depends on the army. So like
Yeah.
you play Death Guard,
yeah.
they're slow.
Really slow.
Investigate signals, not like
really
the
slow. No.
extend battle lines might be hard.
Yeah. However, I can probably sit on an objective for
So you
quite
can
a
hold
bit.
primaries.
Yeah. Like, you know, and if you get close to me on an objective, you're in trouble
Yeah.
because you got like a -1 toughness. The way I run them, I'm also -1 to hit.
So you
when
might
you're
focus
near
on
me,
primaries,
So
but maybe overwhelming force might come in because you'll be like, I've got to take that objective
yeah.
and kick you off it, so I can do
So,
that as a primary.
But you're not wrong.
and
though, I'm slow. Investigate signals that.
We know you're slow.
I pull that. Well, I'm slow.
Are you on about the game?
Oh, well. Oh my word. You know what? I quit.
It is really hard to go up against Death Guard though if they're holding like a middle objective,
That's
because
really
you don't
tough.
want to go anywhere near them,
No, of course
but
you
you
don't.
also need to go near them,
Yeah.
and it just makes it really,
Yeah.
really.
And
Just
they're
a tricky
not
thing to do.
very easy to kill in shooting because there are stratagems to keep them alive and things
Yeah.
like that. Anyway, that's my army. We'll move on. We're on the tournament. So anyway, so that was your third game.
So that was our third game.
End
so
of the day.
yeah.
Went
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
So after this, we went home and we tried to relax as best we could.
Watch a bit.
Watch some Eurovision.
Watch a bit of Eurovision, then change it.
Yeah, and then
you went home to watch Eurovision
Yeah,
as
Eurovision.
relaxing. Okay.
and we had some pizza and what was your thing? You tried to convince me to eat something, but I just didn't know what it was.
It's a Mediterranean.
And then he ate a giant cake.
Yeah.
Sorry,
like an actual full box.
That sentence, by the way, came as I ate pizza and then a Mediterranean and then ate cake. So who was the Mediterranean?
I can't remember what the name was. But
A nice Mariana sauce.
it was like a chili beef wrap.
But it was quite late when we got back, wasn't it?
Yeah, about 7.
Yeah,
8-ish.
and
It's a long day.
it is a long day, and
Yeah,
I think
no, it feels like a long day. I can feel it. Like game 1 would feel like a long day to me.
I think personally, at that point, I could have probably just left it there and just been like, I'm done. I'm happy.
done. I'm happy.
left it at a nice place. We won-
2-1. I'm all right with
Yeah.
that.
But when we saw we got next
Okay.
game was Space Marines and
Death Watch.
Okay, so this
Death
is
Watch
so.
and Iron Warriors.
That's
Wasn't
it,
it?
yeah.
Okay, for the flow of the story, then. So you woke up, ready for the day. You've gone back to the tournament.
Before getting back to the tournament,
Go on.
bloody speed cameras.
Oh,
So £80, nothing now.
you got caught by a speed camera.
I've now got 3 points and £100 fine.
Oh, Dave. To our listeners, please don't speed. Please don't speed. But what happened?
I was talking and I was coming out of a 50 going to 30 and I was slowing down. I got to 38 and there's a camera.
You slow down too slow.
Too slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So didn't start well.
Yeah. So it's a costly tournament as well.
Costly tournament. It's cost me £170 altogether.
Including pizza costs and Mediterranean costs, however much they were.
RV8 is not happy.
You sold your other house.
So, okay, you woke up, you've sped to the venue.
Yeah.
You've got there, so second day. Going in, I assume the same. You've walked in, tables, get on the app.
Yeah. So the
Find your
nice thing
next-
about the
yeah.
second day, we
Kind of know what you're doing.
We know
So
what we're doing.
following our third
Yeah.
game on the previous day, obviously we had our information on who we were going to fight the following day. So we did have that chance to have a pre-discussion about, we're going up against these guys. Is there anything we need to worry about? And we contacted Matt actually, didn't we? And we said, what are those nasty blaster things? What do they do? And what do we need to worry about? And Matt said,
I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah, Matt. Is that the Vindicator?
no.
No.
The plasma guys.
Oh, the Hellblasters.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Hellblasters.
It was Jim.
Space
It was
Marines
Jim.
Hellblasters.
Yeah.
Anti-elite, coming squads of 5s, plasma incinerators.
Yeah, so you shoot them, you kill one, they shoot back at you
Yeah.
at normal BS, which is
Oh, of
absolute
course.
BS.
Their ability then is when they die, they get to shoot back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which also activates on, I believe, hazardous as
So
well.
they'll just overcharge everything.
Yeah, so it can overcharge all the time and get
Yeah.
shot off. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Absolute BS.
They did become an issue in our game.
As a Space Marines player, I don't think it's BS. It's perfectly fine. We don't get anything anyway, so
Actually, you are a limited army, so.
yeah. Well, there you go. Very limited army. Not enough characters.
But I thought you were going to Vindicators. Vindicators are horrible.
Yes.
Yes.
So just to interject very quickly, actually, off the back of you telling me you bought a Vindicator for your
This is like a few
Thousand
months
Sons.
ago, wasn't it? I was mentioning about Vindicator.
Yeah.
Look at this.
I told Nick, who collects Fair Space Marines, Black Legion, I said, oh, by the way, I think Vindicators might be quite tasty. He brought one into his battle, and though he lost quite convincingly, his Vindicator put work in, like really damaged. I think it was an Imperial Guard tank, a really heavy hitting tank, and it just took off like 10 wounds in the first turn. And he left it with he was crawling towards the end. So Vindicators, yeah, 100%.
I versed Matt a few weeks ago. He used Vindicate against me.
Yeah.
Destroyed Land Raider
Yeah.
and a Executioner, Pulse,
Yeah.
whoever it's called.
And I
Yeah.
think what makes Vindicators really good because they're siege shield.
Shoot
Yeah.
combat.
If you charge them, they shoot in combat with no penalty,
Yeah.
and it's insane. And
it's a blast
with a
weapon.
blast weapon.
Blast weapon.
Yeah.
And there's a stratagem
Yeah.
that if you use I can't remember what deception he was using, but you can make 5s into criticals.
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
this-
Yeah.
Is it sustained or something?
Well, Chaos Space Marines can do the same. They can turn.
Yeah.
I think you can turn sustained or lethals into 5s criticals. So you can really build upon Vindicators
it's
quite
horrible.
well. Anyway, we'll put the old
So we had 2 of them against us.
yeah.
Yeah. So this was Purge the Foe, which is basically kill more, take more. So you kill more units than your opponent does, and you take more objectives than your opponent does. And we didn't do too badly. Some turns we got more than they did, but most of the turns they just kind of beat us to the mark. Yeah, so first turn, again, they got first turn. They got deploy teleport homers and secure no man's land, which they got in the first turns. Oh no, extend battle line, sorry, and then secure no man's land in the second turn. And then finally, towards the end, they kind of eked it out by deep striking some Terminators in the back line, which got them capture enemy outpost, which is obviously 8 points, which is quite a lot. They also got defend stronghold, area denial, cleanse, storm hostile objective, which was the same as the and then no prisoners. And basically, they ended up with like a maximum score of 100. We started off and we got behind enemy lines, which obviously didn't work. Secure no man's land, which you got points for. Investigate signals, we got 4 points. Overwhelming force, and then we missed quite a lot. We missed out, and this is there was reasons behind these. They were essentially move blocking us, and they had a reactive move, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which at some points we'd set up situations.
Yeah, I know what this is. This is oh god, I can't remember if you move within 9 inches, they can move 6 inches. Yeah. I do kind of I can't remember what the exact stratagem is now, but
This is the game where I realised how good move blocking is.
yeah.
I remember he had his Nurglings, close combat. I did my damage. He killed it so that his one with Nurgling was now out of combat, so I couldn't fight anymore.
Yeah.
He moved him so I couldn't actually get round it without going into that Nurgling.
Yeah.
And that's when I looked going, oh man, move blocking is...
I've done it with rhinos.
Yeah.
I drop off my load to where it needs to go.
All over the Nurglings.
That was actually well unintentional as well. Anyway, I moved my troops into position, and then rhinos generally they're not very good, so I'll just throw them at things I think are scary, and then people generally panic because they're in the face, and like, okay, we deal with it, charge into it. There's a lot to deal with a rhino. Nine wounds, I think. So yeah, I get it
So
completely.
when you dropped them off, were they all ground troops or any seamen in there?
There was no naval troops
Right.
that I know of. It was very much a inland battle. But I'm glad you asked anyway, because
Just checking.
as a strategist myself, yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so so from my side of the table, we kind of ended up playing our own game, but Dave was on the other side with 2 mutiliths, and he got held up by how many Nurglings?
Eventually down to 1, but started with 3. 3 Nurglings held up the mutiliths.
2 mutiliths.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
So and then they later upset us as well, because obviously I think we got capture enemy outpost, and that they basically blocked us. It was like last turn they blocked us from getting that.
Sorry again, just to reiterate, you're against Space Marines.
Basically, Chaos Space Marines, Iron Warriors,
Yeah.
and Death Watch.
Death Watch. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting matchup. Okay, yeah, okay. So mostly Space Marines then. Okay. Yeah.
And then later we set up a maneuver where we were gonna quite reliably charge onto the point into the middle, which would mean we could kill the middle unit. We'd get, I think it was like area denial.
Something like that, yeah.
Which would also mean that, we also got the primaries and area denial and stopped them getting primaries. But as we went to charge them or we went near them, they just moved off the objective. So even if we'd have
Charged
got the charge, we wouldn't even be on the objective.
Right.
And then obviously we were way out of position, which then just meant, they started like...
That was a good game to see how you can use this stuff as a defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very defensive game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Understanding defense.
Not only defense, just how to maneuver your opponent into...
I just feel like up to this point, like going to the tournament, you've learned so much already. You've come across, the defensive play, as you said, you've come across like heavy ball control. You've come across people who probably argue a little bit more than what you expected, or not argue, but more like discrepancies between rules. And obviously then you come across also like someone who's like a really good player
and preemptive plays,
setting
up for the next objective.
And I suppose even though it may seem quite a lot, playing 5 games is a lot of experience.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
How many games will we play?
against really high quality players as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
like and different styles of play. Because obviously, you play the same people, you're going to make the same mistakes, you're going to do the same things. But when you sort of like branch out into people that you've never met before, and they're trying to do their absolute
But I was-
best,
I
and
was
they're
gonna
probably
say,
putting a lot of like.
But
practice
also,
and
how many
prep.
games did we play? One a month.
Yeah,
So you played 5 months worth of our games
yeah.
in 2 days, so a lot of experience,
Yeah.
experience.
And that's one thing I would really say is you know. And just trying to look at it in that what can we learn from this, because that move blocking, incredible work. Synergies in terms of this army will do really well at like holding objectives, or this is what we're going to be thinking about next time, or where's our weaknesses in our armies, what are we sort of like missing and lacking.
And it shows up holes in your own army and holes in their army,
and even things like leadership tests, like battleship tests, that's messed us up as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's lots of things that we did wrong, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's always just kind of looking back and sort of thinking, was it
is it
us?
Yeah.
Is it really a Warhammer game if you don't get your rules wrong?
Oh, exactly.
Honestly, God, like you just never,
About this game.
never.
Saying this.
I was trying to teach, like obviously Nick as well. Trying to teach newer players, like, I forgot this and that. I was like, dude, you'll always forget it. Don't worry about it. And when you learn that and use it, you'll just forget something else. I was like, it just always.
James had a shock in his game as well.
Which one was this? My one?
Yeah, the multi-melter range.
Oh yeah,
Isn't it 18 inches?
yeah. So I've been playing. No word of a lie. I think the entirety of 10th, thinking multi-melters are 24 inches.
No, dude, no. They've been nerfed for 10th, like specifically as well.
You can't make them much worse. These things are like these things are awful.
I mean, multi-melters now are not good.
They should.
They're not good.
If you're going to point blank point something that has the power of the sun against something else, it should die.
My issue with multi-melters is they're
Why are they so
too
weak?
good. They're too good for elite, and they're not good enough for tank. So they don't fit a role. I'd rather take plasma for elite or las cannons for tank, but multi-melters seem to fit this like real, you might just about hit a tank with it role, or if you want to melt a unit, then fine, but you'll only melt 2 of them.
Yeah.
I don't really get
Strength
what
9's
multi-melters
that
are.
sort of like.
Strength 9 is such a weird
nine
place
is
to
the
be.
worst, yeah.
Such a weird place to be. Even against like a Rhino, which is meant to be like it's like an APC, isn't it? Like it's still like 4 ups to wound. It's a joke. It's a multi-melter. It's like
That's
you
what I'm
said,
saying.
It's like a fucking fusion cannon in
It's
handheld,
literally-
and it's
literally the power of the sun. Like
Yeah.
You don't point the sun at things and not have it
not have it die immediately.
melt.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going
It's
on.
called Melter, goddammit. Why did it
Yeah.
melt?
But I just feel like multi-melters, because I come from 9th edition, they were so strong in 9th edition that they just went, right, we're going to peel right back on that. But peeling back on it so hard has taken away the kind of like the gravitas of
I mean,
what
they're
a
still
multi-melter is.
scary when they
Oh,
get
no,
the damage through.
When
but
they
it's
get
just
it
getting
through, but you can't really get
Yeah.
it through. It's a pain.
consistently.
Again, during the game at Warhammer World, Rangers got forgotten because it was like a newer person.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, I'm going to shoot that unit over there," and I was judging. I was like, "Hang on a minute," because obviously the game had been quite close quarters at that point, and then it got to a point where like it was a bit more long.
Yeah.
I'll shoot them anyway. I started rolling. I was like, "Well, hang on a minute." Measured. I was like, "Nah, dude, you're an inch out." Oh, am I? Yeah. I was like, "You're not measuring. Like, you're assuming. Like, I can't see that."
Pre-measuring such a big thing.
Yeah. And so I measured it out. I was like, "No, I'm sorry, you're an inch out." And I have to, say no to that. It's so easy to do though. You just see a unit, you go, "Yeah, I'll fire at them. I'm sure I'll get them."
Yeah.
Sometimes you might not be. It might be
It
half
works
an
the other
inch
way
out,
around though,
or
because sometimes you're like, oh yeah, like
I
I probably
hit
can't hit that.
Yeah.
That's probably a bit far. And
You're
you
well
measure
in
it, you're like,
range.
oh, yeah,
I'm well in range.
Yeah, and I did allude to it, so I will come back to it. The Hellblasters, they came out of a plane mid-game. This is when Dave's big unit was sitting in the middle, and they just decimated them, didn't they? They were just gone.
I really
I
want.
think it was Terminators. Was it
Yeah,
Terminators?
it's Terminator.
I really want some Hellblasters.
And these Terminators were just indestructible the entire tournament.
Till this game.
They just went, gone.
Jeez, yeah. Strong men.
And the fact that if they do take wounds, they can shoot anyone, not just the ones that shot them. They can just target
Oh, really?
whoever they want. Yeah.
So Hellblasters obviously very strong. Right?
Yeah.
I've actually wanted some Hellblasters for a really long time for that reason, because I know they hit hard, but I thought it was more anti-infantry. But I suppose it is, isn't it? Anti-infantry, or
And
anti-elite.
Space Marines are limited what they can take, so
They are good.
Yeah, they haven't got much.
They ain't got much
They ain't
choice,
got much at all.
so-
No.
And the
Real
fact that you
small
can just keep
codex.
shooting
Yeah.
when they die is just incredible. because that makes you kind of think, do I really want to shoot at them?
Yeah. So that was your fourth game, and how did that culminate? What was the end
Oh, so the
result?
final score of that game was 74 to us. So we did good. It just kind of pulled away towards the end, where they got a max 100, and that was just because of the clever plays that they played. At
It was
the
good
end.
to see. It was nice to see that play. I thought.
Kind of sounds like your second game really was probably your worst,
Yeah.
your hardest, I'd say. Yeah.
It wasn't the hardest. I think we were quite close.
Yeah,
It was
good,
neck
but
and neck. It was just the
The experience
least
of that.
favourite one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the final game, it was quite interesting because it was a sisters player, and I had an experience with sisters that I've never had before because I never played sisters.
You got the experience in Miracle Dice at work.
So it was sisters and what, Imperial Fists?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
so
was,
they
yeah.
had sisters and Imperial Fists, and we obviously had our armies. This one was priority targets, which I think again is pretty much just take objectives. However, they were placed down by us.
Yeah, we didn't do it right because everyone's just a bit like, this is the last game.
Yeah, we didn't do it right. We were basically both me and Dave and our opponents were basically fighting for almost last place at this point. So neither of us really cared
This was
too
the
much.
guy who runs the kitchen as well of the place.
Yeah, so
He's one of the
You thought
TOs.
chef.
Yeah.
I
so
like it.
Yeah.
so basically we started off and they had first turn and they had a tremendous turn. Basically got tempting target, which we obviously put right in front of us, which they made a beeline straight to it, and I thought this is a terrible move that you're doing, but it worked out really well for them. And secure no man's land, which again, they got that because obviously it's the same mission, so their cards were perfect first turn. We got cleanse and secure no man's land. Well, cleanse, we were nowhere near the middle. Secure no man's land, we got 2 points because we did manage to smash them off this objective. However, in their first turn, they basically used an exorcist and pretty much KO'd my castigator from indirect shooting, and wiped out half of your terminators.
That's what Doom bolted. They hit me back with
No, that was the other squad.
your squad.
Yeah, this was their turn.
Oh,
So I think in their first turn, they basically, in order to get tempting target, they basically moved forward from their infiltrate position and did a gigantic charge into your Terminator squad, which basically left you with like half your Terminators. To which we then replied with 8 Inferno Pistol Seraphim, which basically killed most of the squad.
Nice.
And then they hid themselves nicely again, and basically rinsed the rest of them with my fighty girls, Sacrosancts. And then I think your Mutilith took a couple of las cannon shots right from the start as well.
yeah. The
Um,
one got killed pretty quick, and then the other guy just stood at the back. I got took off the ball pretty quick, and I was quite happy with that.
so in our second, so they then had their turn, and they basically moved Morgan Varl out and a couple of more units, took a couple of shots at us, did some pretty nasty damage. We then retaliated by sort of moving forwards, and Dave shot at the Morgan Varl unit
Doombolt.
with Doombolt, which obviously is mortal wounds, but you have 4 wounds per Paragon Warsuit. So basically, sisters have a stratagem whereby you can shoot at them, and if they lose a model, they get to shoot back at you with full ballistic skills and everything they want. So they did this to Dave's squad. Now Paragons have a lot of weapons. They get with Vol, they also get rerolls to hit, rerolls to wound, and they just absolutely decimated
That's
his
what's
squad. Yeah, before we could even
That's
shoot
Iron
at
Man.
them. So yeah, that just wrecked Dave completely. And I think he basically focused down your Terminators in combat following that round.
second
Morgan
turn, I
Vol
was
then
on-
charged in.
I was off the ball.
And so there was just one Mutilith left,
Yeah.
which just stayed pretty much at the back of the whole game. So it was just me, and I was like crippled at this point. And we basically just...
How did you feel at this stage, Dave? When obviously you'd been taken out, so you didn't really have
No, but
anything to control. So what was your?
at the end of coming to game 5, I
You were
was
just you were so done.
I was so relieved.
Yeah,
I could
okay.
sit down and chill.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh, it's our turn. Oh, I'm going to move my Mutilith.
yeah.
10 inches, roll dice. No, miss, cool. I'm off.
So
Yeah, it was.
you were kind of.
It's a long day.
A very long day. Yeah. Okay.
And I think I'm not sure if that would be a different feeling if we were like, top table. This is the game that's going to decide
Maybe,
whether
yeah.
we win or not.
I suppose maybe going into your 5th game, knowing you've only got 1 win and this one's on the back foot, I suppose you probably think, okay, it's been done. But I suppose if you were if this was like potential for like 2nd place,
Yeah, or first place.
First
or,
place.
top 10 even.
yeah, top 10, you'd
Yeah,
be
top
like,
10
okay,
would be-
I'm going to try and hammer this down. I suppose, I kind of get it. Exhaustion, fatigue,
And it's our first tournament. 5 games. They probably don't sound a lot when you're thinking like from an external perspective, but they really do take
You're
their
standing
time.
up for the whole.
Yeah.
And remember,
time.
we missed breaks in like our previous days and stuff because
Yeah.
we'd taken too long, and
Okay.
it just all adds up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think we were just like we just want to go home now.
And how did that end? So
that ended up 61 to 100, so they maxed out their points. They did really well, to be honest.
You kind of see, I think, from the scores now, like it's that you can see like almost like a fatigue of like it's starting to tire out a little bit. And
This team,
Yeah.
remember a few podcasts ago I said I met one of the guys who's going to be there running it.
yeah.
That was the guy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
there
that
you
was the
go.
guy.
Yeah, awesome. Has
Did you go against him?
Yeah,
He was the sisters player.
you don't like him anymore, though.
Nah.
So the chance of him coming on the podcast is gone.
The food was nice though, so maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah.
it was a good event. We ended up coming second last.
So not last, so
Oh, man, I'd
That's
take
right.
that. And the thing's over. I think the important thing is that basically it was your very first tournament. I'm going to say you'd expect this to happen.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
I mean, the fact that we came away with a win was good.
Yeah.
Went for the experience just to see how
Yeah.
it all is, how it works.
Yeah. Exactly. And you, like I said, you knew a lot of people there saying like they were quite experienced and know what to do. It sounded like you met some real cool people.
Yeah.
Everyone was friendly. Like
Really friendly. Yeah.
there was none of this dickheadiness. So
Yeah.
everyone was like,
Like elitism or
yeah, and even like, like the 4th game, the guy put his terminators down in the back line and just said to us, "Can you just remind me that they're there?" Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine.
yeah. Okay.
Oh, well, David, everyone remind you of stuff. Saying,
That's really
"You've got
cool.
these here."
Yeah, it was really cool, and I think it does need to be. It needs to be in most games, and
It felt like a very casual.
And I think a lot of us have always been a bit maybe have had instances of not being as cool as that, intentionally or unintentionally, just like not remind people of things because obviously you're focusing on winning the game and things like that. So it's really cool to hear that.
I generally say, if you want to see what tournaments like, watch WGL just for one game or just a little bit of a game, and that's pretty much what it is like. That War Games Live.
Yeah. So we'll throw that link into this episode. By the way, we know where you played. Obviously, it sounds a really good setup. So carry on. So go ahead.
So, really cool moment when they were handing out the awards. They essentially had, they'd say these team have come third. They'd get them up onto stage and they'd give them like a chainsaw, a chain
bronze,
axe, and
chainsaw.
stuff
That's
like
really cool.
that. So basically, the first guys go up and they
Get the bronze.
they get the bronze like chain axe and they quite nicely just give it to like this kid who we met right at the start.
All right.
And then next thing you know, they call out the second people, and the second people turn out to be this kid
Father
and
and
the son. So basically, he gets up, gives the sword, the bronze one back, goes up on the stage and gets a silver one.
Oh no!
And he's there holding, everyone's cheering.
That was
Everyone's
awesome.
loving it.
Yeah,
He's like,
really,
oh yeah,
really
cheers
cool.
to the bronze. Anyway,
I don't need your
I don't need
bronze.
that.
You take
Everyone in
this
the room
trash,
was like
yeah.
cheering for him so
Loving it,
much.
That's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool. Oh man, awesome.
And yeah, our the people we went against first, the chap with the orange Voltan,
Yeah.
he actually got the best painted. army.
Well, you know what? You showed me a picture of him actually, and unreal. Like so simple, but like
really
it
effective and
strikes so
standoutish.
hard.
Yeah.
Striking.
If you can contact him, get permission.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
throw an image up somewhere around here, or maybe even to Instagram, or whatever. But man, they're all really, really, really nice pictures.
Yeah,
Really, really
absolutely
nice
beautiful.
pictures,
Yeah. So that was the tournament.
yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
To kind of like see this out, then so to finalize the story. What would you give as tips to anyone who's kind of has prospects of going into this tournament? If you were to go to a tournament tomorrow, based off this, what would you do differently, or the same, or would you not do whatsoever? You're on the spot.
Do the first. What do you want to do first?
It's a difficult question, that. I don't know if I would do anything differently. I think just trying to be nice to yourself and, try and use it as a learning experience.
Yeah.
Don't expect too much from yourself, and try and maybe learn from any mistakes that you make and take those away with you and try and do a little bit better next time.
It's more like just do it.
Just go.
Just do it.
Yeah, don't, because if you put that pressure on yourself and you say, "Oh, I've got to win," and you don't win, you're setting yourself up to have a bad time.
Well, not to be negative, but you probably aren't going to win. You could smash it, of course, yeah, but
there was 32 teams here, and there was 60. That makes 64 people.
Yeah,
you
can't go in
that
thinking
makes 62 people are not going to walk away the winners, aren't they?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. The likelihood's so low, but you, like I said, you can't go in thinking I'm going to have to win this because the likelihood is very, very low.
Yeah,
go in there with experience.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave? Anything you would take away from this or change or?
So, going into it, I think if you want to get a list of it, you can't change that because you got list. Just do it. Like, just go there.
Yeah.
Because I watched a few videos beforehand, and one of the Vanguard Tactics was saying, someone asked a question, how to prepare for it. I went, don't go there expecting to win because you're going to have a bad time because you might lose.
Yeah.
Chances are you're going to lose and you're going to feel crappy. You go in there thinking, I'm going to smash this, I'm
Yeah.
really good. So go there, enjoy it, learn from it. And if one game, most games you've got like 50 points, well, next time, look to get 55 points.
Yeah.
Or look to get 60 points. You still might lose. Next turn right after that, try and get one win. And just build it up like that.
Yeah. It's actually quite interesting just to kind of like bring this into like another thing that I was actually listening to a podcast today. Do you guys know who Jay Cutler is? He's a professional bodybuilder, or was a professional bodybuilder. I know bodybuilding's got nothing to do with Warhammer or whatever. He actually lost Mr. Olympia 4 years in a row. And it would be very easy for him to give up. And he lost to the same person as well, 4 years in a row and whatever, and everyone kept telling him whatever. He then trained, and then he went on to win 4 years in a row, and he became one of the best known things ever. But just to say that, like, if you're going to compete in anything, you're going to have to just take losses.
Yeah. The only way to learn really is to take the losses.
Yeah,
it's like move blocking.
So,
now I know how to move block a bit better.
Yeah. And it's the same in this. Like, you can't go in thinking, I'm going to smash this, because if you do, then wow, well done. Could have been a bit of a fluke, but well done. But if you don't, and then you think I'm supposed to smash it, you're just going to be upset. You just get sad, and you'll be like, oh, whatever. But if you just keep going and going and going, exposing yourself to it, like we said earlier in the podcast, you played 5 games in a weekend. That's what we'd play in 5 months. You've got 5 months experience, really, of playing. What if you did a competition the week after, or the week after, or the week after? Not that you would, but you get in so much experience. Then before you know it, a year later, you probably are mid-table, mid-high table, and eventually you might win it. So
you move to the
next
next
tournament.
tournament.
you move to the next tournament. So that's it.
It's a very long weekend.
And I suppose that's the other thing as well. It's very long, so get ready for that.
Yeah, really
get ready for that.
You just a lot of standing.
Yeah, hydrate yourself.
Hydrate. Yeah. We were lucky at ours. We had catering pretty much.
That was really helpful.
Some places
I bet some places don't have anything really. No.
Some places don't have lunch because they got good facilities there, so it's quite
really
nice.
Good. Yeah. Go on.
I don't know if there's anything more to say on the tournament side, but we do have some rules clarifications we've been asked.
Yes.
How are we doing for time?
An hour and a half, but yeah.
We'll go quickly then.
Yeah, probably maybe pick out some of the more prevalent ones, maybe, yeah.
I think one of the most interesting ones was essentially... with regards to, if you've got an effect that's such as Oath of Moment, and you've placed it on a unit with a character model in that unit, if you kill the unit, does the Oath of Moment continue?
Doesn't it stay on until the end of the phase?
I suppose the character becomes another unit.
That's what I always thought.
So it does, yeah. However, the rules clarifications are that, and this is based on the persisting rules, persisting effects. So some rules apply to an effect that lasts a certain duration until a certain duration has passed. Until the start of the next, so for example, until the start of the next turn. Such effects are known as persisting effects. If a persisting effect applies to a unit when it embarks within a transport, or make note of that effect until and its duration. If that unit disembarks for any reason, the persistent effect continues. If a persistent effect applies to an attached unit and that unit ceases to be attached to a unit because either all the bodyguard unit models or the leader models are destroyed, any persisting effects continue to apply to the surviving units until their full duration. So essentially, Oath of Moment stays on till the following turn. Now this gets a bit complicated because also other armies will have things like this. So Voltan, for example, they have grudge tokens, which you basically put on the opponent. And one of their things with regards to this is basically that in the designer's note, it essentially says that if you split up or join units together, you basically either split the tokens or put them together to have the same amount as that were there to begin with. So again, the rule persists regardless of whether you've destroyed that unit. And then with regards to leader units, it also works in the opposite effect. So you don't have to wait till the end of that character's the models have been destroyed from that shooting attack. For example, it happens instantly. So for example, with my example with Celestine, the moment that bodyguard unit dies, I can then start allocating to Celestine. I don't have to wait till all of those shots have been finished, and then the next unit I can then start allocating to Celestine. It would literally be the instant that shot goes through, kills the last bodyguard unit, you can then start allocating differently. So very similar in that effect, but on an opposite side. So it works in the benefit of both sides, really.
So just clear that up. So essentially, it will go on to if a unit dies and the leader's still alive, it will continue on to that leader.
Yeah. So, but it's persisting effects. So, say for example, you've cursed someone.
Yeah.
Like -1 to hit for until the following turn.
Okay.
It would be similar situations.
Carry on.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have played it that way. I didn't actually know that rule that clearly, but I probably would have done that. If somebody had placed something on me like Oath of Moment and then it was down to the leader, I would be happy to say, yeah, Oath of Moment's still on that leader. I wouldn't have probably argued that. But yeah, that's really good clarification there.
I thought that was a really good one.
Yeah.
And there's a couple more, but I think we're probably a little bit tight on time, so we can maybe look at them next time.
We'll probably take on to them next time. Yeah, we've got a few more, haven't we? So, it's been a really good episode. I think mostly for this episode, though, is the tournament. Like, I think it's really important that we got that out there for people who are looking to get into tournament as well. Because I know a few people who have been thinking about it, and to get your experience from it is fantastic. I think the biggest experience is that it's a friendly environment. I think a lot of people are scared to go to tournament because they feel like they're going to get absolutely clattered by like someone who's super sweaty and like would just absolutely give them the whole actually. And whatever, which I imagine will happen.
Rules lawyering and stuff.
Rules lawyering and all that kind of stuff. But it seems like most people you went against just wanted to really just have some fun and enjoy it. So
I think
well done, guys.
That people were just fair, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no like bullshitting. There was no trying to hide anything. There was no like I've got you moments. It was just like, this is it. This is how it is.
Yeah. There wasn't really any trying to cheat. It was, and there was that expectation that you weren't trying to cheat them.
Yeah.
And that you both sides were just trying to be as fair as possible because you both want to win.
That's really cool, actually. Really cool. All right, guys. Anything else you want to finish out on?
I open out how messed up my eyes are. Jesus Christ, it's HD.
Dave's had his glasses off the entire
Bloody
episode,
hell.
so I think now he's just realised where we are. So we're doing a podcast.
We're starting it.
Hello.
Right then, I'm ready to go.
You ready? Yeah. He just woke back up.
So we started today.
So nothing for you,
Hello,
Dave.
welcome to.
Happy? Yeah.
No, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast.
I'm Dave.
James, anything else you want to finish out on?
Nope.
That's it. I'm pretty good. So thank you for listening again, guys. As ever, go into the bio, click on the link tree. You'll find us in all the social medias, all the platforms to listen to our podcast on as well.
Like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah, don't smash the like button, as I said before, because we've only got one. So
Such a bad joke. It makes me,
do you not like that joke?
it
No?
makes me cringe every time.
I just don't like the smash like button thing. It gets on my nerves so much.
Lightly tap the like button.
Yeah, can you just lightly click it
Just
and then
caress
just leave that? And then if you can wipe it when you finish well, because everyone's got diseases. So please don't. Anyway, we're going to finish out from there. So that's it from me, Callum.
Me, James.
Me, dude.
And happy hammering, guys. Have a good one.